All right, it's getting good. Also, I do take your feedback if you guys are ever wondering. Half of you guys basically were like, hey, do all 12 at once. Obviously, that didn't happen. But the other half were asking for just one at a time or like 3 at a time. So we did 2 at a time. Part 7 and part 8. Starting with part 7, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10, which I'm pretty sure is close to what I gave the first 6. This is another building block one where, with 12 parts, you're not going to put everything out there. I understand what the writers are doing here, but there is a lot of key details towards the end, especially Strife force feeds Cyclops food because he hasn't fed them. If you remember, he's holding Cyclops and Jean Grey in prison. And he force feeds him food, and it's like, it's not that hard to be a parent. And it's like, why do we care? What are you talking about, Strife, right? And as that happens, he also leaves. So he does that, then he leaves, goes to like some place in like Egypt-ish area. I'm kind of jogging memory because I read this one, obviously, before I read this one. Part 7 here. And he reawakens Apocalypse to fight him. Because if he can defeat Apocalypse, then he can fully defeat Professor X, which would make him be able to defeat the X-Men, which would be able to make him control the world, right? Okay. Classic evil villain stuff. Again, a lot of build up here, but I will say the X-Men feel extra human here. Good storytelling, down-to-earth stuff. Definitely like the story building of the other part 6, but this one is like even better. But it's because a lot of things are building up. So this is a big building block one, but for a building block comic, which I've read a ton of, because you find them in the 50-cent section all the time at the store, comic book store. This is one of the better building block comics, but it's because so much is going on and so much has already been built up. So 7.5 out of 10. Now, part 8, very good. First 8 out of 10 we will give, 8 or higher ranking we will give. I'm actually sure we're going to give more. As you see here, they're fighting. They fight for only about the first 5-6 pages. Apocalypse and Strife. And this is, I mean, some good fighting. It also has the reveal. Which, by the way, spoiler alert. You should have already known that. But I haven't spoiled too much yet. So now click off if you don't want a crazy spoiler. As we talked about last time, we think Strife is Cable. I already knew that. And here he is. That is his face. That is Cable's face under the mask. And Apocalypse is like, there's no way. You can't be Cable. I thought Cable was, a man at a time, but wasn't bad guy or whatever. And he's like, no, I just have his face. So you're kind of confused, right? And he basically is beating the crap out of Apocalypse. Apocalypse is able to disappear. Strife puts back on his face. I love Strife in this comic. When we are talking about villains, you need to build them up to be villainous, right? We need a reason of why they are villainous. And we find out here that Strife's dad is Apocalypse, and that he wasn't taken care of. So that force feed scene here where he force feeds Cyclops, says it's not that hard, is him explaining that he didn't have a dad, and he thinks that it's easy to be a dad, and he doesn't have a good dad. Pretty good stuff, X-Men kind of exploring the family values of it all, the family dynamics, which the original X-Men series does super well. So does the original Fantastic Four and all of that, right? Marvel has always done a super good job with family stories, okay? It gets better than that, though, with Strife, in my opinion. Later on, we get to the origins, again, of kind of how he is and everything. And Cable says, I don't know why he looks like me, right, at all. That's a big reveal because we thought maybe Cable knew why. Also, in this one, the X-Force, which we had mentioned before, is like the younger mutants, right? But not the new mutants, the X-Force. They're locked up in the bottom of the mansion, and their leader guy is not. And they're not very happy with him. So that's, I guess, a detail that kind of matters. It's not huge. Also, they are now inside of Charles Xavier, his head, because he had a virus and it's now traveled to his head. So the Beast is trying to do something in the head. Now, I will say something weird. The lady who's helping him on this monitor thing, kind of like Karen and SpongeBob, right, the computer lady, she's evil to me. I think she's evil. Like, she's really wanting to give up on saving him and everything. And I think she might be working for Strife somehow or something like that. But I don't know. Be wary of her. We're going to review 2 more parts tomorrow. I think we're going to find out that she's evil. That's my theory. Finally, one of the most important parts to me that builds out Strife and is very explanatory is this one. Somewhere else, and he walks up and he clicks on interior view. And when he does, it is Cyclops and Jean Grey, which, right, laying with each other, cuddling with each other. Duh, they're a couple. And then it just shows the face, just blankly, showing again his missing part of him, which is love, right? Didn't have it from his dad, and then he obviously doesn't have the romantic partner, and he just storms away. He just turns away, puts back on his mask, and just continues to be who he is. And that leads to Cyclops and Jean Grey able to make their escape because she uses her powers and everything. So that's cool. This then ends, and again, this is why I say 8 out of 10, because we already have all this great stuff happening. I'm really loving how things are coming together. This ends with Apocalypse appearing at the school, right? All of them are there. Who the hell would want to come attack us right now? It's Apocalypse. Archangel then has this sick, I mean, look at this art. One of my favorite panels I've seen in comics. I mean, this is a beautiful panel of Archangel just PO'd with his wings up, angry, hair's wild. And it's Apocalypse. And he's like, I'm going to kill you. Because remember, Apocalypse was the one who turned him evil. He saved his life, but he turned him evil. We talked about that way back in my Death of Angel review and everything. Well, he starts to fight him, and Apocalypse goes, no, you do not understand. You guys want to save mankind, you know, you guys want to do whatever. We have to defeat Strife together. So bam, that's the end. Cliffhanger right there. Part 8 ends with Apocalypse, big bad Apocalypse, one of the biggest bad guys in X-Men, saying, I got to team up with you guys to defeat this guy. It's going to be crazy. Part 9 and Part 10 review tomorrow night. Thank you guys for watching. It'll be tomorrow afternoon because that's when this is uploaded. Alpha time is out! This was, I like these.